Ladies and gentlemen, nice to see you come out. It's such a cold night. If I didn't have to come out, I'm not sure I would have done. Welcome to this inaugural public engagement Broadoak community investments. It's to unlock community potential. Many or all of you are aware of Broadoak's obligation to provide housing development sites for 115 units, albeit by the year 2041. Following these developments goes back quite some time, and I am delighted to have the opportunity to give something back to our community with this vehicle. And it is the word community that is the key word here. It's, as you will find out later in the slideshow, the word community, if we mention it too many times, please forgive us, because that is exactly what this is all about. We are dedicated to sustainability, high maintenance, and enabling fabulous facilities for the community. Those facilities which we'll elucidate on a bit later on. Broadoak Community Investments is for the benefit of the community. I would like to offer some apologies first. There's only one, it's Kevin Beadle, who is one of our. Please come in. Kevin Beadle, one of our directors. I'll just pause for a moment.
Sorry.
No problem. We haven't got very far other than an introduction by myself. Or perhaps I should have mentioned. My name is Clive Durrell. I've been appointed chairman of the Broadoak Community Investments. I've just explained to everyone here basically what the rationale is for this particular body, and as I said, I don't wish to bore everyone else here, but the buzzword here is going to be community, because this is only set up for the community, nothing else. This will become a lot more clear when Keith gives his slideshow. And talking about Keith, I'd like to introduce Keith Artis, one of the directors, and Sue Brown, the other director. As I've already said, we have to give apologies for Kevin Beadle, who is the fourth director, and he sends his apologies. So I think, rather than me drone on mentioning the word community too much more, we'll move to item 4, which is going to be a little presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll hand to Keith.
If you don't
Can
mind,
you see?
what I'd like to say first is that, Sue's probably got something to say as well, but Clive and I have worked together on numerous different objections to various planning permissions or planning applications over the years. And along with Clive, we instigated this company to make sure, as Clive said, our community benefits and the housing numbers that we were required to provide under the district council's local plan, we try and get some benefit back. I know it's something that all three of us feel passionately about, because over the years there have been developments, not on the scale that we're looking at now, but there have been developments over the years, and Broadoak has got nothing out of them. For instance, the Great Chalks development, which is a lovely development, but nevertheless, all £400,000 of the Section 106 money went to Uttlesford. None of it came to us. So it was one of that and other applications that stimulated Clive and myself and now Sue to form this company. And I hope that we can demonstrate this evening exactly how we're going to do that. Did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to put myself across really so that people know what I'm at. From the time that I put myself forward as a parish councillor, councillor, all I have wanted to do is work for the good of our village. Having resigned from the parish council because of negative comments from certain parishioners, I was very pleased to be asked to join Broadoak Community Investments, as it has given me the opportunity to remain involved with what happens within and to our village in the future. I'm hoping that, given time, you will realise that we are here to make sure that our village as a whole benefits from what we do and that we can encourage only positivity. That's me.
May as well, yep.
Okay, I'll have to stand up because I can't see it otherwise, so bear with me. We're on the first one. Yeah. Okay. So as has been said, we have a local plan for Buckinghamshire which is in the process of being approved, and it's a demand for houses which we have to provide as part of the allocation. Now, Hatfield Broadoak's allocation is for 100 plus houses, 115 was mentioned. We've got 24 on the Hammond Road site, I think.
Plus
so
two.
It leaves us, we've still got to provide a substantial number of houses. Now, I'll come on to this later on, but the Hammond Road site on the south of Hammond Road, which is the Broadoak-Durkins site, that accommodates 66 houses, plus 10, which is 76. So effectively, we're 15 short on our overall allocation.
It's actually 13, Keith. You're forgetting two at Takeford.
I think what we might do is let Keith finish.
Yeah.
Well, correct him.
So we still need houses. And of course, the local plan, development local plan requires a review after every 5 years. So we have to review it every 5 years. Now, the thing about Buckinghamshire's local plan is that the numbers that are required were calculated under the old system, and Buckinghamshire took into account a discount which was allowed on the numbers which it could have, which was required to be produced. So at the next review, this is just my opinion, but I think that number of 13, 15 is going to at least double, probably triple. That's my opinion. Because using the new methods of calculations, we are going to need about 140 houses. So we are going to need more houses, whether we like it or not. So there's an old saying in property, which is everybody has to have a slice of the cake to make it worthwhile. And so what we're trying to do is, as there is a benefit both to Uttlesford and to landowners and developers, why shouldn't we have some of the benefits as well? So that's our aim. And as I said, there's been no previous benefit to Hatfield Broadoak of any of the developments that have taken place in terms of money or affordable housing or other benefits. And of course, we have a need for truly affordable homes, not just affordable homes under the definition, which is what 80% of market value, but truly affordable social homes as well. And of course, we need to ensure the sustainability of our village. So, we've got you can probably correct me on the numbers here. This school used to have 120 people in it. What's it got now? Less than 50. So, we do need families. We need families to live here. It can't just be a commuter town. It can't just be for us oldies. It has to be for families, and so we've got to bring people in to keep it sustainable. We've lost the butchers. We don't want to lose the shop. We've got 2 pubs just. And so we really do need to make sure that our community is sustainable. So what do we need? We need homes and we need money to be able to do that. The parish council clearly can't do everything. It doesn't have the money. And the parish council can't build homes. So, how do we achieve our wants? Well, the company, in support of the parish council, its principal objectives are basically to discuss with developers, landowners and planning authorities ways in which our community can benefit. And that means, and as I said there, without limitation, to receiving monies, land and other assets from donations, grants, planning and other agreements with third parties, whether it be the local authority or whether it be landowners or developers, with the purpose of using such benefit for the community and the infrastructure. Now, later on, I'll come on to the list of things that have been developed. It's not limited, it's not exhaustive, but the sort of things that we would like to be able to support. So, for the benefit of community and infrastructure include local organisations, local charities, nominated housing associations, and of course the parish council itself. The parish council supported the formation of the company. So the company has been formed, and it's been formed under two guises. First of all, it is a limited company, it's limited by guarantee, but it's also registered as a community interest company. And the reason for that is to ensure that the assets are locked, they can only be distributed for full consideration and in association with the objectives of the company, so they can't just be sold on. The community interest company also has to have certain criteria which are approved by the regulator. So our articles of association have been modelled on the generic terms of the Companies House regulator, and so with suitable amendments, those articles of association have been approved by the regulator, and this is now a community interest company, so it's Broadoak Community Investments CIC. And also, as a company, and we'll come on to the third point later on, but it has also agreed and signed a memorandum of understanding with the parish council. This is a cooperation agreement so that we respect each other's position and work together. The other thing that we wanted to do was ensure that if the company was able to negotiate land and provide affordable housing, then we thought it beneficial to become a community land trust. And we have modelled our articles on key conditions of the standard articles set out by the Community Land Trust Network. And we have now been approved as a member of the Community Land Trust Network. Their principles are community involvement and that it's locally driven. So the company is a CIC and a community land trust. As far as a community interest company is concerned, the company cannot transfer any of its assets other than for the benefit of the community and for other than full consideration. Some of you already know this. The community interest statement, which we have to provide for the regulator, is that it should carry out its activities for the benefit of the community. You'll hear this quite a lot as we go through. Hold on. Let's go back up. Get a bit carried away with my button. And surrounding parishes where there's a benefit to the community. So that's our community interest statement, which the regulator has approved. Again, the company objects, which are also in the Article of Association, is established for the benefit of the community and surrounding parishes. So this expands on our objectives, which are to further the social, economic and environmental interests of the community by the methods that I discussed earlier, which is conducting business, seeking land, acquiring, holding and stewarding land, property, funds and other assets for the benefit of the community. And as part of the Community Land Trust Network, the company's activities will benefit the community Broadoak by providing affordable housing in perpetuity in supporting community facilities and infrastructure. The Community Land Trust Network's principal objective is to provide affordable housing. And the fact that that their requirements are that it's in perpetuity means that affordable social housing that is provided, we provide, is not subject to right to buy or is subject to equity share. So it's just purely rented accommodation. And with the landowners that we spoke to, that's their objective as well. So we're all in sync on that. And again, some more of the company objects, which are all in the Articles of Association, which reinforces the requirements of the CLT network. As I said, ensuring such housing remains affordable in perpetuity. So to do that, we're discussing with the CLT network a local lettings plan, a nominations process, and both of those are based on the resolution made by the parish council, which was the hierarchy of criteria for residents in affordable housing. So that local lettings plan and the nomination process are being discussed with RCCE and also with registered providers. And as I said, that's a local lettings plan and the nomination process is recognised by the CLT, but it's also recognised by local planning authorities, registered providers, which is housing associations, and Homes England, who provide the grants that enable housing associations to be able to build affordable housing. Now, our local lettings plan and nomination process, as I said, we're in discussion with registered providers and the RCCE. Our next step is to have discussions with Uttlesford, although that has started. Again, just these slides reiterate or repeat what's in the Articles of Association. So, acquire, hold, steward, or fund land and buildings and community benefit, including green spaces. This expands upon the green spaces, community facilities, workspace, heritage assets, or other amenities. The reason I put these slides up is because they're the standard words that the CLT network require in the Articles of Agreement. So basically it's funds for village projects. And again, I won't read this out, but it's a repeat of the same objectives, but it's just something else that we include in the Articles of Association as required by both the regulator of the CIC and the CLT network. Also, as part of the sustainability element of the Articles of Association, it is to promote projects and services that sustain the well-being, cohesion, heritage and environmental quality of the community. And we'll come on to expanding that when we look at some of the projects that have been discussed. Also, a requirement of the CLT network is to enable members of the community to participate in the governance and decision-making of the company through independently appointed directors, which is us, and the Broadoak Parish Council's membership and representation. I think this is the last one of the objects. What the CLC is allowed to do is to make grants to members of the Broadoak Parish Council or other statutory bodies. So it's not just charities and organisations. We can actually feed money back into the Parish Council, provided those payments are applied solely for the company's objectives. So we can't just give money to the Parish Council to fund its operation. These has to be for specific projects. And of course, not as a distribution of assets to its members, because it's a non-profit making company. So people say, well, why did you use the CLC? Well, the options are to use the Parish Council, it is to use a CLC, it is to use a CLT. Other options were charitable incorporated organisation, CIO, or a community benefit society. They all have their pros and cons. Now, I don't expect you to be able to read these charts, but they will be provided in the presentation, which I'll distribute. But that gives the pros and cons of each of the different methods. And there's another page as well, which again I don't expect you to read, but they're quite detailed analysis of which was the best method to be used. And the summary was that Community Interest Company provides the most balanced, flexible and stable structure for managing development funding. So it combines the independence that we have and long-term, this is the important thing, long-term accountability to deliver results across multiple sectors, and that enables us to, if we get money, to be able to distribute it to perhaps schemes that like the church tower maybe, that perhaps the parish or the school, that the parish council can't, is prohibited from lending money to. And as I said, the asset block guarantees that the community benefit remains central. We can't dispose of any of the assets, and that progress maintains a strategic direction. So it's not diverted by political changes or whims or views, but there is a clear, defined objective, a set of projects which is ever expanding that the company will focus on. So the way that we've worked it out is that community land trusts provide secure options for land, housing and charitable projects, while community benefit societies, which is the other alternative, offer democratic ownership and trading potential. It's acknowledged that Section 106 agreements usually refer to parish councils or the local planning authority, and they're the statutory route for receiving Section 106 money or community infrastructure levies funds, but are often constrained, this is our interpretation, constrained by bureaucracy, short-term political pressures, and limits to the funding that it can obtain and distribute. A CIC, on the other hand, operating with adopted principles of CLT, provides the most effective long-term solution. So it's got the flexibility, it's got the permanence and the transparency and accountability. Under this model that we're using, parish council we can continue to handle Section 106 funding, statutory funding, whilst the CIC could negotiate directly for additional funding, whether it be land, whether it be other assets or finance. And this can be outside of Section 106 agreements or included within Section 106 agreements, or it can be with separate formal agreements. Community and consistency has been mentioned, and the reason for doing it that way is so that we have a consistent, independent pathway of community improvement, which is aligned with local priorities. So the rationale, parish councils are automatically eligible for statutory funding, as I said, and it's not to be confused or diluted. Now, one of the key reasons for a separate organisation is that you can't have a parish council negotiating with developers and then have it commenting on a planning application, because that does seem slightly, I won't say corrupt, but it's not quite right. And the views of a parish council that was negotiating with developers, its views on the planning application would not be taken seriously by the local planning authority. So, to keep it separate, the negotiations with developers and the parish council's view on planning, because the parish council might completely disagree with anything that the company is trying to achieve. But the company itself doesn't decide where the housing goes, it doesn't decide what the housing is. Our view is to try and establish with developers what benefit can be provided to the community and make that knowledge available. A CLT, as I said earlier, can make grants to parish and community causes that the parish council cannot. So it has advantages there. It can hold land for affordable housing. Its decision making is streamlined. Anybody that sat through a parish council meeting will know that decision making is tortuous, laborious, and often confused. We can make decisions quickly, we can act quickly. Its dedicated sole community aims are enshrined in the company articles. We can't divert from that because the regulator would have something to say. And we've got the asset block and we've got the objectives. As I said, it's regulated, it's a legal entity, and it's recognised by government, both in the planning legislation and in company law. So, it's in law. So the CIC has an asset block, it can make decisions quickly, it can distribute funds where perhaps the parish council can't, It's recognised by the CLT network and by the Companies House regulator. It's for community benefit only. As I said, it's not linked to plan applications. A community land trust is recognised in local and neighbourhood plans. It's also recognised under those various acts, plus the NPPF and Section 106. It's recognised by Home England. Department for Levelling Up Housing Communities recognise the local benefit of a community land trust. It's recognised by local planning authorities, the regulations for social housing and the CLT network. So it has overarching, wide recognition. So the other, it's spelled wrong, excuse me. That was a last minute alteration. It wasn't good enough. So involvement, one of the things that the CLT does require is community membership and community involvement, because it can't just be us 3, 4, 5 directors. So we have created a form of membership called community membership, where people can get involved, become involved in the recommendation, identifying the projects, and all aspects of projects that if we have funding that we can fund. And we would expect to have a community assembly at least once a year, possibly twice a year, depending on how successful the company is. And also, of course, under the Companies House regulator, will be required to provide an annual report to the parish council and to residents. We've also set up a local housing committee. The reason for that is that if we do get into bed with developers, then they may, or landowners, then they may want to have a say in, or an influence in the housing that is being provided on their land. So that invitation has gone out to one developer. Just to try and keep everybody involved, that's the key thing. I'm going to pause for the moment.
Yeah, we'll take number 5 actually.
Yeah. I'm going to pause for questions on what you've heard so far. And then the next stage will be for me to update you on what we have done so far. And there'll be an open floor at the end.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks very much. Before we move on to questions, just to reiterate on what number 5 is here, call for involvement. Now, I don't expect anyone here now, unless they really did want to say, yes please, I'd like to. But just to reiterate what was touched on there, transparency of what we're trying to do can't be emphasised enough. And the more people that do come forward in the capacity that was outlined there, the better I think, not only for us, and for those people, and for the benefit, is this word again, the community in general. So that was what item 5 was all about. Now, I'm perfectly happy if anyone wishes to say yes, please. And we can go away with your name on our notes and you'll be informed at a later date. Or indeed you can do it through any other medium or the website that we have.
It will, the website will be, it's not quite working. Still got pictures of cakes on it at the moment.
So that's what that's all about. Does anybody want to put their hand up now, or would you prefer to wait?
Can I ask what the selection process is, please? Can I ask what the selection process is, please?
You can.
The selection process for anybody can join.
Anybody?
Anybody.
As a member,
As a member, as a community member. Yeah.
and they will have voting rights annually.
The community member is not recognised under the Companies Act.
No, I'm talking about as a member of a CIC.
If you want to become a member or a director of the CIC, our Articles of Association say the company is developing an eligibility criteria to become a director or a member of the company.
Yeah.
That hasn't been done yet. So-
Because your articles are a bit sparse at the moment.
Sorry?
Your articles are a bit sparse at the moment of exactly how you're proposing to allow members to join and have a voting right.
Well, yes. It says, our articles of association say that the eligibility criteria are being developed. Bearing in mind we've only been going for a while, so we're working on that at the moment. But that will be made available.
What are the members, what would they do? Just, I think when you said just people put their hand up, what do you require them to do?
To get the ducks in line, so to speak, clearly, I'm sure you can all realise this now, this is a very embryonic process. It's only just beginning to roll. But to answer your question, we just need people other than ourselves to say, if the money comes through from these developers, perhaps we'd like to have it, I'll pick something out of the air, to produce some computers for the school. For instance, we think part of the village is a bit of a mess. Can we have some of the verges clear? This sort of thing. Just to benefit the village. And anybody can be perfectly entitled to come up with any suggestion. But let's face it, we might not fall about. Let's have another plant somewhere. Let's do some work in the churchyard. It doesn't matter. Anything that anyone comes up with. That's what this is all here for. We have, as I say, we have to put our ducks in line first because we don't have anything to come. This all has to come from. I mean, we are superfluous without the cash, so to speak. We are ever hopeful that it does come, and when it does, this is the sort of thing we're after. And so we have our website. We will have as regular as necessary meetings for exactly that purpose. People come along and say, I've got a great idea, let's do this. And we go, fantastic, brilliant, we can really benefit from that. Yes, let's get some funds out and allocate it to that. That simply is what it is all about.
But then the decision makers for where that fund goes are the 4 directors.
Well, there will be. It will be the directors, yeah. But,
Okay.
you know, we are not, absolutely not going to listen to a decision, an idea and go, yeah, we're not interested. That's not what we're about. We're here basically to serve the community.
Okay.
First and foremost. That's all our criteria.
One other little part of it, and this is quite an insensitive question. How are you succession planning the directors? How are you succession planning the directors?
We haven't done that.
Because I know it's embryonic, but the point is if you start talking about big sums of money, you'll have a kind of insurance policy that would say you need a succession plan for each and every one of you.
Yeah, we haven't we've been typically here for a little while yet, so, but that will.
We are aware that that has to be done, clearly, but we haven't got there yet.
The other thing, as Clive has said, is, say for instance, if somebody from the school does want to become a community member, somebody from the church wants to become a community member, somebody from the pubs might want to become, just anybody can come along to represent their corner. And we'd be more than happy to have those people involved.
So now we can roll into questions. I think everyone's obviously got a lot to say. If we could just take it one at a time, just hand up and I'll point, otherwise.
Okay, can I? Does anybody
Sure,
else want to
yeah.
carry?
So, please.
Yeah, what concerns me is the amount of houses we'll end up in this village. Now, we know we've got 115 given in the local plan between now and 2042. And we also know, as we just said, that all but either 13 or maybe even 11, depending on 2 in KGen, which I presume will go to Windfall, but they may come into the... That doesn't leave a lot for you guys to play with, in my opinion, if we're aiming to keep to that number. Now, we know at the moment that the LPA doesn't have a 5-year housing land supply. So we are open to clause 11D of the NPPF, which means that basically any developer can walk in here and possibly get permission, and we could put 500 houses around this village. Now, obviously, we don't want that to happen. And I'll be perfectly honest here. I mean, I've got an interest that Keith will know very well about getting a neighbourhood plan done to prevent that happening. It will certainly prevent it for at least 5 years, according to current statute. Okay, so that to me is very important. Now, what I want to know is, are you guys committed, not necessarily to the neighbourhood plan, that's another story, and that's parish council as far as I'm concerned, but are you committed to limiting the number? Because the way I see it, adding more houses helps you.
Limiting what number?
Limiting the number of houses that we will end up with. Because, you know...
No, I can answer that. The simple answer to that is no. What this is designed to be is when permissions are given for whatever houses, wherever, we try and negotiate some funds from the developers to go into this vehicle to be spent for the benefit of the village. It's not anything to do with this number here, that number there, or any numbers anywhere. It's when those numbers are decided, we negotiate as far as we can on the community's behalf for one of the, I know it's vulgar, cash.
So basically, you won't be out there trying to promote developers
No.
and saying, nice site there,
No.
you know, go for it.
That's not,
Because
that's not our role.
That's not what this is all about.
Because
at all.
that's quite comforting, because obviously, you know, 115 houses, that's 35% increase on our village.
Indeed.
It's big, and we don't want it to
No one wants any more.
go much further.
No one wants 115.
Well, we're stuck with that.
That's gonna happen.
We tried to get it reduced, we failed.
Just to reiterate,
Yeah.
this vehicle is purely, I've got you. This vehicle is purely and simply to elicit cash, however we can, from developers to be spent for and on behalf of the village of Atherton. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. And we will try and do that within any which way we can through what has been outlined here. It's as simple as that. No, we are not going to say, look, this is a good place to put half a dozen houses. No way.
Well, that's comforting to hear.
It's the last thing I would do.
So parish council's role.
Listen,
Just want to clarify, please. You mentioned S106 and the CIC. Normal building development practice, as we all know, the district council or the planning department will impose the 106 on the developer, which will be their contribution to the community. Is a CIC able to influence that level of 106? So, i.e., can the CIC direct what would be going to the planning department or Uttlesford back into the village?
I understand the question. I think
Yeah.
you might be able to answer that better than me.
The methodology that we would seek to use would be where sites are identified which has potential for development through the parish council or the neighbourhood plan or whatever, even if something comes forward, then we would seek to negotiate money or land or both with that developer stroke landowner, which could go through the 106 or it could form part of a collateral agreement separate from the 106. There are two methods of doing it. Depends on the methodology that the landowner and stroke developer would want to adopt. The Section 106 agreement can include provision for a voluntary contribution from a landowner developer to a third party, which I think was your question. So the money or land does not automatically go to the local planning authority, although they will have their own requirements. But a Section 106 agreement or a collateral agreement can allow for voluntary contributions by a developer stroke landowner to a CIC.
But surely from the village's point of view, I mean, I take what you're saying, the historic occurrences that we've had, Thorny Grove, £400,000
Yeah.
went into Uttlesford.
Yeah.
Hatfield Broadoak didn't get a penny.
That's right.
So, on any other development that comes along now, there will be a 106, which is put in place by Huddersfield, and what's
It's negotiated.
it's negotiated. But the key then, are you saying that the CIC could ensure that that money that would be coming out of the developer, normal thing that happens in every development, would come its way towards Broadoak and not get lost in Saffron or High Street or whatever it may be?
I can't guarantee that money that the local planning authority requires under a Section 106 agreement would come this way. But what we would seek to do is ensure that the developer makes a voluntary contribution to the CIC. So there might be two pots of money. There might be money that the local planning authority requires under a Section 106 agreement. But what we would seek to do is to get a voluntary contribution, additional money or land, to come to the CIC.
Is that
Why
also?
would the developers do that?
Well, there are a number of reasons. They might feel that by granting the CIC money, they could be altruistic, which is difficult to believe with property developers generally, having been one. But they may consider it, if they're a local landowner, for instance, they may consider it to be something that's necessary. They may consider that getting the support of the CIC might help their planning position. There are any number of reasons why. Admittedly, developers could just say, no, we're not interested, and carry on anyway. But it's up to us to try and seek that money.
So how does that, so how does that put the CIC in a better position than the parish council itself?
Well, the CIC, CLT, can discuss with developers and landowners outside of the planning regime.
That's almost like saying that a parish councillor, has never spoken to a developer in his life. And let's be honest, we know he knows that.
I'm just saying that it's not, I won't say recognised, it's not accepted that a parish council can support or otherwise a development if it has negotiated a pecuniary advantage.
Oh, sorry?
If it has negotiated a pecuniary advantage. So if it has an advantage, then it does make a mockery supposedly of the neighbourhood plan, for instance. Because if the neighbourhood plan is constructed on the basis of how much money the parish council gets from each developer, then that's
Not strictly speaking.
that's not quite the
No.
right way.
I think, can I just, what I'm keen not to do is go too far down the parish council territory, okay? I want to bring this back, if I can, to, how can I say this? If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's fair enough.
Okay? Now, we are not a political establishment. We're never going to set up to do that. At the risk of repeating myself, if you don't ask, you don't get. We heard about Cornwall Grove and the loss of, I say the loss, a figure of 400,000 going to Huddersfield. Now, I'm not saying that were this in operation at that time, anything would have been forthcoming. But it certainly didn't come this way because it didn't exist. It may have done had it existed. What we're trying to do is for the future, when these developments are getting close to being signed, sealed and delivered, this vehicle is in situ to try its utmost to get some of that would be 400,000 into our land for the village, for the community. That's basically how we see it's going to work.
All land.
All land, sorry, all land.
Yeah, 106 is a negotiation.
You can go for it.
If you're negotiating with a developer, you can negotiate with others at the same time, and that money can be split, or a section of it can come to half a brother. And you're right in what you're saying.
Well,
if there is no representation there, then then that just, if there's no question for it.
Well, there hasn't been. Whether that would be, that could happen in the future, I know not. It's a good question, and I don't really have a succinct answer for you. I don't know. It's in the future. I know what has happened, or what didn't, or what's going to happen in the future. I hope I know what's going to happen, but I can't guarantee it. As has been said, the developer may say, no. Okay.
Well, a developer will instinctively want to keep on the side of the village.
Correct.
Because in the future, if they ever have the opportunity to build, they want to be the preferred
I
person.
totally agree with you. And again, having a vehicle right on this, under those circumstances, can't hurt.
No.
If it's not there, then it's irrelevant.
I think it can depend on which developer.
So
I think it depends on which developer.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
if you look at Bovis or one of those, they're not really going to be interested in. If you look at history around the country, they're not interested in villages and stuff like that. But if it's a local landowner, we stand a very good chance of being able to appeal to their better nature.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. And that's exactly what we hope to be able to do.
And transversely, for landowners putting land forward, this is in their mind as well. So there's a possibility they would ask the developer to negotiate with the CIC.
100%. I think that was, I guess, sorry, I know Chris has been waiting to ask a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's right, you done? No,
No, you go for, I'm going to ask something else.
Okay, so I think what we just established there is that the formation of the CIC is something that may be able to do something different than the parish council, but we don't know if it actually will be able to do anything
We have
different
no way.
or achieve anything different to what the parish council would have.
Absolutely. I mean, this
achieved.
could be.
So, sorry, I haven't finished. So, given that that's what we've established, you may be able to do something, and given that you said that earlier that it wouldn't be advisable, it would be, I think the word you used was slightly, could be corrupt, if the parish council were to negotiate sites and then act on planning permission issues with them, etc., etc. Given that, is it advisable to have directors of the CIC that are also part of the planning committee and the parish council?
Well,
Would it not be more sensible not to be in that position, I guess is the question?
well, just to separate parish council business very, very quickly.
This is directly at the CIC, so the
Yeah,
fact that you
but-
sit on both is, I'm asking you for the CIC.
But the planning committee of the parish council only looks at applications once they come in. If it has anything to do with something that the CIC or myself as a member of that is involved in, then I would have to declare an interest.
So what was the bit that you said would be unethical then?
If the parish council itself supported an application which it was receiving money.
Okay, but the CIC are going to be supporting applications which will receive money, and then the parish council.
No, the CIC will negotiate with developers and provide that information to the parish council.
With a view to earning money into the CIC to help distribute amongst the parish, etc. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So given that, and given that you would then take one hat off and put another hat off as on a parish councillor, is that not playing directly into what you said would be
No, it's
unethical?
No, it's not, because the parish council is how many people have we got on it?
Okay, let me ask it a different way.
I-
Isn't it an issue that could easily be avoided by not having somebody who wears both hats
Yeah.
play that role?
But as I said, you're pointing at me, and it's
And
very...
Kevin.
Not just you and Kevin actually.
But as I've said before, the planning group has got nothing to do with where houses go. All it does is it looks at planning applications that have been submitted. The neighbourhood plan group, which I'm not involved in, is the one that is looking at the neighbourhood plan requirements, the survey which has gone out, which I don't know what the results are or whether they're even concluded yet. So that's who decides where planning goes. What the planning group looks at mostly is tree preservation orders.
Yeah, I'm just confused about the unethical bit. I'm confused where the unethical bit
And
fits
the old
in.
extension.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If I may, I'm not parish council. Sue's not parish council. Who knows who's going to be a parish council in the future or not? Again, this body is definitely not going to be political. We are here for one reason and one reason only: to elicit funds from developers in any way we can, whether that's to pull on their heartstrings, or any other persuasive method that we can have.
It's a nice segue, actually, because that's what I was going to ask. So if you look at the modus operandi for this business, then what I was going to ask you, what's the incentive? So first of all, what's the incentive for the developers? And I guess it goes one step further. What do you have in your mind to put forward as the benefit to really make this a very compelling argument? Because developers don't have to do it. So,
One of our negotiations.
Yeah.
but are there things you've got in mind as to why, come forward, you want to engage with us because that are more multi-layered than just because it's good for the village? Because if we can tip the tide a bit, we may be able to get a few things in the armoury that
Absolutely
make them do it.
And there are, and we will.
Can you elaborate on what they are?
No. I don't want to sort of lay out any negotiating positions that we have.
If
Public forum. I mean, if what we can achieve, we achieve.
what we're not trying to do here is conceal anything, okay? I just come back to this is very embryonic, all this. I can't reiterate enough why I'm here, and that is to use, and your point is absolutely valid, and I wish that I could go into a pub next to a person and say, boy, if you don't give me this for our community, this is what's going to happen. I can't do that, and that's not going to be within our remit. What we're going to do is we're going to appeal. We're going to suggest that, listen, you're benefiting with the development of these houses. We won't go down the funds these developers will get from it, but clearly it would be a lot of money. Wouldn't it be nice if you could give us some of that for the benefit of the village? And there's no power.
I get that. Can I ask some more? Can I ask a very direct question?
That, and we can find other persuasive powers. Brilliant. Let us know.
Can I ask a very direct question? Probably of Keith. So if we think about this selfishly, it's about this village and what we can benefit. We're very fortunate to have a number of incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful people that live here. So if I look at two landowners stroke developers, we've got William Gosling and David Milne. Who's the third? And Richard Broadoak. Well, I forget, but it's obvious. So we've got three. So they're our influence. There's the wild cards that we should be able to influence. Is that where this creates the benefit for the village? Okay. Okay.
One of the areas, sorry, go on, did you? One of the areas that you've not touched on, which will happen next year, is the community infrastructure levy. Now, this will come in sometime, we think, in the spring, according to our district councillors, whereby we will either get 15% of a levy which is applied per square metre of a developed property, or if we get a neighbourhood plan, I'll come back to it, 25%. That automatically goes to the parish council. So developers are going to have to stump that money up, okay? They don't have an argument about it, they've got to stump that money up. And that will come first, before anything that you guys can go back and say, but we want a bit more for this. In other words, it puts a lot of money, I hope with the neighbourhood plan, a lot of money, even that 115 houses, which unfortunately most are going to miss that because it's not going to come in until next year. You know, even the 66 may get that permission before then, because we know they've been negotiating for a year now on it. So that will go through pretty fast. But even so, in the future, that will be a major plank in the armoury of a parish council doing the right thing, doing the good deeds, or putting that out, you know.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a massive amount away from you guys.
That is possible.
Well, it's not possible. It's going to
We
happen.
don't know how much, and we've already said, we don't know what percentage it's going to do, we don't know.
Well, it'll either be 15 if there's not a neighbourhood plan, or 25 if there is.
It will be a sizable amount, and then
Yeah.
the developer that
Yeah.
has to do,
Yeah.
has to, under the terms and conditions, part with that cash, it's going to think to itself, I'm not giving them any, possibly. Maybe not.
As
I
Clive
don't
said,
know.
if you don't ask, you don't get.
No, I completely agree with you.
So, I think we've got to be positive about this
Yeah.
rather than negative. So.
Um,
Shall I move on?
well, unless there's any more, there may be later, but
Yeah, there's another question.
shall we
Questions?
carry on then with your,
Yeah.
two?
Sure.
Sorry,
So-
did you ask something?
So
I was just batting.
Sorry.
So the results, so what have we achieved so far? Well, there is a community development partnership agreement, which is basically a memorandum of understanding with the parish council, sets out our relationship with the parish council, how we cooperate, how we coordinate our views. We have been in discussion with English Rural and the CIC. We have been in discussion with developers, and we have developed a local lettings plan and a nomination agreement, which is based upon the resolution of the parish council for the eligibility criteria for affordable housing. And that, the principle of a local lettings plan is supported by the NPPF, and that has to be negotiated with Uttlesford District Council, which is the last one. So our next target, although we've spoken to Uttlesford District Council about it, we need to try and formalise our local lettings plan. So what else have we achieved so far? Well, there are on the site for the Hammonds Road. If that goes ahead, then there's 10, there's land which will come to the CIC for 10 houses from the Durkan/Broad family scheme. And also we've managed to get a voluntary contribution promise from Durkan/Broads for £500,000. So we would like to think that it's all been done in good faith, and bearing in mind that agricultural land is worth about £10,000 an acre and development land is worth about £1 million an acre. I think that's a reasonable amount of money for them to commit to, and that discussion has been taking place for a while, and we, as I said, if you don't ask, you don't. It's privacy, you don't ask, you don't get. And so, what have we achieved so far? Well, we've achieved, as I said, land, which will come to the CIC for 10 affordable housing, and also £500,000, which hopefully will come to the CIC as well. And the projects that have both been identified for that, this is just it's not an exhaustive list, it's just a list of things which have been submitted so far. I appreciate somebody said that the neighbourhood plan group had also had a list. I haven't seen that, but quite happy to add that to the list, I'm sure, if my fellow directors agree. I mean, you can see the list, there's everything from school equipment to play equipment to the church tower, to the scout hut which needs rebuilding or getting rid of the asbestos anyway. The village sign needs doing, heritage assets, seed funding for sports facilities, the tennis courts have been mentioned, MAGA has been mentioned, outdoor community areas. There's a whole list of things, right down to actually getting the silt out of our road gutters, which would prevent the roads from flooding. Supporting the village festival. There are many things that the CIC, the company, can do, which the parish council can't afford to do, or couldn't do on its own anyway because of its statutory limitations. But it's not, what's the general power of government. That's right, it hasn't got that yet. So, if we get the land, which is the area has been identified, so we get the land, we get the money, which is a good voluntary contribution promise from the Broads and Durkan, then we can start to do some of these things.
How many houses are being built on that?
10
How
units.
many houses in total?
66 plus 10. Got it.
Yep, that's it.
What piece of land is that on?
It's, is it 6?
Site 6, yeah.
I think it's 6, yeah.
Yeah, 6.
That one. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
So that's if that development comes forward. You know, I don't know what the results of the survey will be, but we know that that application will be coming forward regardless. So we wait to see. Right.
Good.
That's what we've done. That's hopefully it sounds positive.
I think we get some sort of, we're going to have some more questions in a moment, but I think we get some sort of idea as to exactly now what we're about here. That's gone. But the last one here, with those little things in there, it says something like, well, the one is the gutter clearing. I mean, you know, a few thousand quid on computers for the school, brilliant. And now we're clearing a few leads out of the gutters to free the drains up. You know, we want to be from one end to the other. Serious money projects to smaller things that perhaps people haven't thought about. No, does everybody think, oh, this drains aren't working? Now, in order to get those things done, and they were done down Taylor's Hill not that long ago, I can testify, but it takes a long time, and councils don't necessarily have the funds to do all this. And yes, we may have to get some form of a professional in to do it, but the fact is, if there is £500 million there, we may have the funds to call someone and say, could you clean these drains, please? Could you get rid of these verges? Could you shake this, that, and the other? Make the village more beneficial for everyone concerned. We can all walk along without having to trip over debris that shouldn't be on the path. I know I'm talking very minor and very basic thing, but it all adds to the big picture as we see it to benefit the community. So that brings us now more questions? Must be some.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, as you said, you know, negotiating £500,000 and 10 community houses is not an easy task. It's not a quick task, and it's very commendable that you've done it. So I think it's brilliant.
It might not happen.
You've got this far.
We want it to happen.
We want it to happen.
Absolutely.
It's been negotiated in good faith, and we expect more time.
And it obviously hinges on the success of the planning, etc., and the site being built on and everything going ahead, etc., etc. So I just wanted to confirm, can you confirm actually, that all that negotiating has happened since the CIC was approved by the parish council?
No.
So how did it happen beforehand?
I knew that development was coming forward some considerable time ago. That development has also been discussed between Alan and myself over 2.5 years ago. So it's not new.
But I mean, the £500,000 negotiation. I mean, how did that come about in such a short period of time?
That's new. That's new.
That's more recent.
Since the parish council approved the CIC.
No, just before. But I mean, it's recent.
Yeah, just that you said earlier that the parish council couldn't talk to the developers like that. So, wondering how it came about.
So,
I don't want to be negative about 10 houses for £500,000. I wouldn't like people in this to go, you know, recording here to go into the village. That's a done deal. If it isn't a done deal, I just would like to, from the CIC's point of view, are you saying that's a deal that's been agreed, or is that a deal that you hope will happen? There's a very finite difference.
It's a deal that's been agreed.
Okay, so it's a dead certain.
well, unless someone...
I mean, I see, you know, obviously if Durkin don't get their planning permission, it's null and void.
It's a deal that's been agreed.
Okay, thank you.
And the
I
CI,
don't mind me asking that question because, you know, we're very good at spreading incorrect information in this village, and some of it is right, some of it isn't. And I think that saying what you were saying with the caveats in there, I just wanted to clarify that those caveats are more solid than I was wondering.
can you clarify that the CIC can't influence planning?
No.
No.
No, you did say it. No. And the parish council can influence planning?
Yeah.
Parish council obviously can.
Oh,
Only
So
with a
with-
voice.
So with 2 directors on the parish council, there's a much stronger probability that this agreement could more definitely go forward.
This application is, the broad stroke Durkin application is going to go ahead anyway. What the parish council do about it is up to the parish council. And there are 7, 8 parish councils.
I mean, if I can say that as you know, that pre-app came in a year ago.
Yeah.
In other words, they've been discussing this with the LPO
Absolutely.
for a year. Just a small thing, and I shouldn't really say this, but that 10-unit RES was what we put together with Durkin, we being the enabling plan, back in earlier this year, which you know about that. But if I can ask a question, the local lettings plan, now, I'm sure Amy will put me right if I'm wrong, but that to me was something that is in the parish council's hands and not the CIC, is that correct? Or do you guys nominate who is going to get a social house?
The way it works, if I can explain, is that Upper District Council have a selection criteria for affordable housing. The NPPF allows local organisations, whether it be parish council or whether it be a company like ours, to develop a local lettings plan, which is recognised. It has to be negotiated with Upper District Council, or they have to agree. And the local lettings plan stroke nomination agreement that we have developed is built upon the nominations criteria that the parish council resolved. So we're not doing anything different than the parish council has already resolved to resolve. But because the land will be coming through the CIC, through the company, and not going directly to a registered provider, then the CLT, the CIC company, has a greater foothold in ensuring that that local lettings plan works. And what we want to do with the local lettings plan is not only have somebody else deciding who comes in. I mean, it'll be done blind, obviously, but in terms of criteria, we don't want somebody else automatically deciding who comes to live in our houses, whether it be 10 or if there are further developments, you know, whatever, we get another 10. The company want to have an influence as to the eligibility of each of the applicants. So we don't just want it to be according to Artlesford's housing register, but we also want people to apply directly to the company or through the, what's it called, CBR or something, which the Artlesford District Council have. So there are three routes for people to apply for housing. But the local criteria, which we want to be introduced, includes people returning to the village who haven't had a relationship with anybody in the village. By relationship, I mean family relations in the village for 3 to 5 years. They may be people who want to return to the village. They may be families that want to return to the village, which don't fit Artlesford's standard criteria for a local connection. Likewise, we want not a discretionary, but a slightly wider criteria where if somebody wants to come to the village who fulfills certain beneficial criteria, say for instance they might be nurses or additional doctors or teachers or something, which although they don't have a local connection, would actually be a benefit to the village. So we want to try and expand the criteria which Artlesford have for a local connection, and a CLT can do that as it's recognised by the NPPF. And also, we don't want it to be hierarchical either. So, you know, I think the first criteria for Artlesford is is that somebody who's lived within the village in the last 5 years and moved away. Well, we might want that to somebody who left for university 10 years ago, who's now got a family and wants to come back. So we want to make the criteria such that people can return to the village to make our village sustainable.
We're sort of back to where we started with the community groups.
I can understand that. I mean, Uttlesford obviously had a fairly robust selection process where obviously local people or their set of rules automatically go to the top of the housing list on an RES, which is what we're obviously talking about, certainly those 10 units. I wish you luck.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we hope so.
You will, because
Well, I don't think, just on that, I'm certainly not, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of us are certainly not under any illusions as to how difficult this is going to be. It's not, you know, if I could flip it the other way around, you know, and I'm a developer, and I'm in it to make profits, and as any company is, I'm not going to be about first and foremost going, oh, let's get all this money. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But the fact is, I don't want to repeat myself too many times, if this vehicle isn't in operation, it's not going to happen. The vehicle is in operation, and hopefully it will happen. And if it happens, £500,000 is a lot of money.
And the other thing,
Couldn't agree more.
the other thing also, just following up on those, is that because as a community land trust is recognised under various government departments, the various housing acts, English rural, it's recognised by Housing England. It has statutory recognition and therefore has a greater foothold in negotiating these local lettings plans. And Uttlesford do accept local lettings plans because it's been done in other areas. And indeed, Uttlesford does have experience of, for instance, CLTs with local lettings plans in neighbouring districts, South Cambridgeshire, for instance. So, yeah, the CLT has a good chance of getting a local lettings plan agreed.
okay.
Is anyone else? Yes?
Sorry if I've missed this. Could you just clarify for me? So with this negotiation, you've negotiated for the 10 affordable homes or the land. So does that mean that you build them?
No, the CLT would get the land, which it then gives it a stronger say in what happens on that land, in terms of lettings, not in terms of houses. We know that it's going to be 10 houses, but or 10 units. The land would come to the CLT. The CLT would then issue a very long lease to a registered provider.
Right.
So effectively, the CLT only owns the freehold, but it's a 250-year lease or something like that.
And then the provider comes in, builds the houses,
Builds
isn't it?
the houses, gets the grants from Housing England, builds the houses, and then as part of the local lettings plan, the company would expect to have an influence in the occupants of that. It's also been discussed as maybe we should have, discuss this at CLT network meeting the other day. One of the issues with affordable social housing is once it's let, you never get the opportunity to get it back, if you know what I mean, for people who perhaps might be more deserving. Somebody who went in for either wins the lottery or becomes very successful. They could afford somewhere else. And so therefore the option is not to means test, but to have, say, fixed term tenancies, which might, such that their eligibility would then be re-evaluated after 5 or 10 years. So that house may become, or that unit may become available for people more deserving. I mean, it's just, there are various different thoughts of how to structure it. But with the CLT having the freehold, it has a greater influence on what happens on that land in terms of eligibility.
So what I'm hearing here in summary is that the CIC is effectively a vehicle that is allowing things that couldn't be done through the parish council to be done, and hopefully gain more benefit for the village and for the community as a whole, but ultimately still trying to achieve the same goal, which is minimise the amount of housing that's put up in the village, recognising we do have to put housing in the village, doing the best we can to try and get some affordable housing for people within the village so they benefit, and trying to get some cash into the village to distribute out into the village in order to make sure that everybody benefits as best they can. So that's my summary understanding of everything that's happening. Thank you.
I won't have to make one.
So given that's the case, do you have practices, processes, procedures documented that you could share? I think it would be very helpful if you could, that ensure that there is no mechanism through this vehicle for developers, landowners, parish council members, directors, in fact any individual, to benefit more out of this process that's going to happen because it's going through a CIC than if it did follow the other channels.
So I'm not sure what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is you're essentially doing what the parish council would have done, but you're putting more methods of being able to do this in order to get more benefits. But in doing so, the builders should not benefit more because it's gone through a CIC. The landowner shouldn't benefit more because it's gone through a CIC. The parish councillors shouldn't benefit more. The directors shouldn't benefit more. There shouldn't be any benefit other than to the community as a CIC.
So there's the word again.
Yeah. Any other benefit outside of the community as a whole to ensure that nobody benefits more through the adoption of this process through the CIC than they would have done had it gone through the parish council as a regular route.
Nobody, I mean, the directors aren't paid, they don't get expenses, it's all voluntary, as with parish councillors. The aim of this is to, as I said earlier, and it's in our articles of association which were approved by the regulator, that it is for the benefit of this parish.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Is there any more?
I'm not sure what else every negotiation will be different, every discussion will be different. There's not a set format for discussing matters with developers, landowners or planning authorities. I mean, every negotiation starts from a position of how can we work together.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, if I may follow up on that, obviously there's going to be areas of confidentiality that you're going to want to keep, but the more information you put out to the village or the parish, the more we know what's going on, the more we then trust everybody involved in it. And you won't get then inane questions being asked.
Okay. You won't know this because you weren't there, but while we were talking about setting this up and putting the whole thing together, that was exactly what we had in mind. What you said. Exactly. That was it. That's why we came across with this vehicle. Let's support this. Let's do it for exactly that reason.
Good.
Exactly. Was someone going to say that?
Well, it's a bit practical now after that kind of moral bit, but which is correct and far more important. But it just jumping into my head, Bellways, Station Road, at the edge of the parish of Hatfield Broadoak. Is there anything that you could be doing to negotiate money for the village or for the parish out of that area, which has kind of suddenly become in Takeley's parish, although it's actually in our parish?
The answer to that is no.
No.
But the reason for that is we tried. We tried negotiating with Bellway, we tried negotiating with Bob McGowan, the landowner. They refused, which I thought was quite unfortunate for somebody who lives.
Well, yeah, but Keith, is it in Hatfield Broadoak parish or isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is currently in Hatfield Broadoak parish, but Uttersford District Council are considering a request by Takeley to include it in the Takeley boundary.
Well, we should find that.
with our fight.
Well, the parish council is.
Sorry, this is the company, the parish council are fighting.
Okay, so that's the parish council question. I just thought that in that event, the CIC obviously could go to them and say, look, blah, 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 blah. Because that's for how many houses there? 48?
It's 99.
Hundreds.
It's allocation gone then.
Well, it's a done deal then. They've got it. Why should Graham give any money?
It's not, well, yeah, but it's also the significance of the fact it's in the parish of Hatfield Broadoak. It's
Doesn't
just got
matter.
115 houses, I think.
No,
It's not.
that doesn't come off our allocation.
Okay, well, it's just logic, it's in the parish of Hatfield.
Yeah, it is. Yes, we
You
don't
know what I'm
get.
saying? I'm not trying to
You're retroactive on
They're
this.
saying, Chris, that from a planning point of view, it comes within the accommodation of taking, so it goes to taker's allocation.
Well,
From a planning point of view, not-
as Nigel Brown said, it was too far from the village for us to take them into account, which is ridiculous.
It's not in the parish for reasons, but yeah, I take it from.
Okay, good. Having seen that, sort of looking at 9 here, you've seen, it's still very embryonic, this. You've seen the slide of all the possible things that we could put if we were to receive it and plan towards. And here we are saying suggestions for projects. Now, please make one now. It's very, very early days. It almost seems a superfluous item to have on the agenda, but it's there, so I'm going to go through it. Has anyone? It's early days, and to come back to what you said earlier on, so yeah, we're going to be transparent. We're going to have more meetings. We're going to let the village know. Hopefully, we'll have people with us. Although going back to the call for involvement, if anyone can tell me how more transparent I can be, I'd love to hear it. Because that's my aim, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do everything we can for the village, with the village, for the benefit of the village. I can't put it any clearer than that. Hopefully some of you people will all say, yep, okay, I'll be involved, I'll make suggestions, I'll point this out. No, that's not quite right, let's do this. Anything like that. Please come forward, help us out. As I've said before, it's a difficult thing, this. I am under no illusion whatsoever, I've already said that. So, if anyone's got a suggestion for a project that isn't on this slide,
Chris, you can't have no extensions.
well, you can always, you don't have to say it now, you can go home and think, I should have said that, email.
So rather than being an actual project, the one thing I would say is that this is a great start. This is really good to see openness and getting people involved and really being open and telling everybody what's going on, what you've done so far, etc., etc. And I hope long may it continue.
Well, thank you.
It's not a question, it's a point really. My point would be, it would be great if we could find more effective ways. We've failed in the past, find more effective ways to get people to be able to see that this question is being asked, give people the opportunity to respond rather than just being either come here or go to Facebook. We need to find more effective ways of getting people involved so that the community can input into this kind of stuff, and so that the community can put themselves forward to be a part of committees and things like that in order to make this better to the benefit of all of the people. But this is you've got a real chance here to wipe the slate clean of the shit that's happened in the past and try and get a real clean, effective communication method out there and show how it can be done, because who knows, that might get adopted by other organisations at a later date if you guys get it done right. So
if we're successful, absolutely. I'm not going to make a summary, it's all been done.
Published everything.
You've said it all. Thank you very much. As I say, these are early days. The more that we are successful, the more that we can do, the more meetings we will have, the more calls for involvement we will put out there. I am under no illusion either that trying to get people in this village involved is not easy.
Just trying to get people to turn up. It's
It's
difficult to know.
I was chairman of the Scouts for a number of years, and trying to get people to come forward and help out the Scouts. These including parents of Scouts. No, they're not interested. So we, as part of our job, job, our remit, if you like, is to totally engage and talk to people as if I'm sitting in the Duke's head and I see someone, oh, have you heard about this? What's your views on this? I will get out into that village any which way I can, because I'm of the firm belief that this ticks all the right boxes. There are no crosses anywhere, as far as I can see. Some may come up in the future, I doubt it, I hope not. I think we know what we're at, and yeah, we're going to get it out there. And I'm hoping that in future, when this vehicle has its cash, people will come along and we'll have a sit down like this, hopefully in a village hall, and everyone will be going, right, let's do this, brilliant, wasn't that marvellous, look what we've got. Yes, it's in the future, I understand that. I'm passionate about it, we're passionate about it. You are, obviously. Talk to others. So you should have been there. Clive off a lot, and I didn't understand half of what he said, but hey, you should have been there, it's a great idea. It's never been done before. I'm going to use part of what you said, wiping the slate clean. I don't think we need to wipe the slate clean. We're starting something white and fresh. So hopefully there's none of that other thing you mentioned sticking to us. Yeah, great, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Cheers.